Okay, so here we are at the weekly healing call. And today the topic is grounding. So, grounding, well, first of all, what is grounding? I think the definitions can be many here. Grounding is the ability to be present in the moment. It is an ability to be present in the body, not to daydream, but to be present in what we are doing at this moment, being on the ground. It is an ability to literally feel the ground beneath your feet. You know, sometimes when you sit on a rock or touch a stone or a tree and you just feel melting into that stability, into that core, something unchangeable, something that will always be there. So this is grounding. This is that sense of stability. Grounding means ability to manifest, to create. Grounding is not as opposed to daydreaming or fantasizing or having a lot of plans and never fulfilling them. So a grounded person is a rooted person. Think of it as a tree with deep roots, right? If a storm comes, a tree with roots that are deep, that are firmly planted deep into the ground, that tree will stand. Maybe the branches will crack, maybe some of the leaves will fall off, maybe, you know, even the old branches will crack and fall off. But the tree itself, the trunk will remain standing, the roots will be there. So the tree will survive the storm. Whereas a tree that has weak roots, that is not firmly planted into the ground, that tree can be uprooted. So grounding is our protection from being blown with every current, every gust of wind, going here, going there, following this, following that, going in every possible direction without ever firmly being present or settled. It's lack of grounding can manifest itself as, following one teaching, another teaching, this tradition, that tradition, trying on many different things, never really settling in. It can manifest as jumping from relationship to relationship without willing to commit. It can manifest as, changing jobs every 3 months because nothing really suits. It can manifest as moving places, moving countries. Well, sometimes we all like to travel, and sometimes we all want to move, but a permanent also lack of grounding, it can be reversed, right? So lack of grounding can result from moving too much, so you never really feel present or settled, which takes us to another topic, to the other part. What causes this rootlessness? What causes lack of grounding? And that is the most important part, because I don't believe there is any one single technique or healing method or anything that can teach you how to ground in 5 minutes and you will forever be grounded. I don't think things like this exist, because usually lack of grounding, lack of roots, has very deep roots of its own. It's not as simple as snapping yourself into it. or out of it. So the causes for lack of grounding usually go very deep. They start with trauma. Trauma is one of the most important causes for lack of grounding. We don't want to go deep inside. We don't want to experience the pain or relive the pain. We don't want to connect with the parts of ourselves that have been hurt. So think of it as, for example, you have had a traumatic experience. Maybe it was growing up. Let's say maybe you experienced emotional abuse as a child. And you left the home, or, it's over now. But it left a deep trauma within you, in your psyche, in your body, in your emotional bodies. So as an adult, when you experience a similar situation that reminds you of the abuse in some way, you don't really want to go deep into it. You don't want to relive the trauma, relive the abuse, although subconsciously, your body, your soul pushes you to it in order to heal. So you live in this world where you keep reliving the same experiences and you don't know why until you make a commitment to healing. But because you don't want to be present, you don't want to experience the pain. So often this childhood trauma, right, it leads to addictions or, well, let's say also daydreaming and maybe superficiality, depending on the extent of the trauma. So all the ways not to be present, all the ways to avoid going into the body. And a natural result of this is lack of grounding. You don't want to be present. You don't want to root yourself. Because rooting yourself inevitably means going deeper, connecting with your body, connecting with the present moment. And that can often be scary. So we can spend years and years of our lives running away from ourselves because we don't want to connect to the root of our trauma. Even minor traumatic experience can leave us ungrounded. I mentioned moving, changing locations, even traveling. Normal holiday traveling usually leaves us very ungrounded. I know from personal experience, it takes me about a week to ground back in, to ground back into my reality, because you're just scattered all over the place. Everything is floating somewhere, but it's very difficult to reestablish the routine, to get back into reality, to center yourself, to be present in the moment. Traveling inevitably means losing ground beneath your feet, because now you're on a different ground with different energies. You meet different people, you connect to different places. Some of them may be lower vibrational, some higher vibrational. But even if you're going to a holy place which has a very high vibration, the experience of moving locations leaves you ungrounded. Imagine if as a child you had to move places a lot or change schools a lot. Well, that would leave you very ungrounded. So trauma, moving, a lot of changes in life, changes such as changing employment, um, changing a career, changing a path of research, maybe, or any changes in life, also kind of knock the ground from beneath your feet. And depending on our level of energetic sensitivity, we lose that ground for longer or shorter times. Usually, the more sensitive we are, the longer it takes for us to ground back in. So, energetically, in our energy body, It's the first and the second chakra, really, that are responsible for grounding. But because they are not separate, they are connected, right? So um, it also expresses lack of grounding, or the presence of grounding expresses itself across other frequencies. Obviously, the first chakra would be the lowest, the most dense frequency, and that is our connection to earth. That is the grounding per se. um, but for example, many sensitive souls um, tend to naturally avoid lower frequencies and like to spend time in the upper frequencies of the body, right? So they would go up rather than down, and there is nothing wrong in that, because being in higher frequencies um, helps us avoid the some of the heavier stuff of the lower frequencies, including karma, which is a topic in itself. But the higher your vibration, the more karma you've worked through, and some of the karma has been laid to rest, or let's say forgiven, for those who are at a higher energetic frequency. So consistently going down energetically, going into those lower vibrations, it can activate some of the old karma, and things just start burying you from all directions and preventing you from going further up. Well, at the same time, if you're constantly daydreaming, if you're never present, if you are unable to concentrate, if you can't manifest anything, uh, then it might be a problem, right? And then it's obvious you're not grounded. So, as I'm saying this, what are the ways to be grounded? What are some of the techniques, methods that we can use to be more present? As I said, lack of grounding, our inability to root ourselves, it results in inability to concentrate, inability to manifest. I mean, you may have the visuals in your head, in your imagination. You may even vision board or imagine how you want things to be. But if your lower chakras are blocked, if the energy is not getting there, then you're not going to manifest anything. It's just going to be blank, nothing, zero. Because it's all up here. It's all in the mental body. It's all in the etheric body. It's all somewhere there. And maybe in the fourth, fifth dimensional reality, you already have these things. Now, the problem is, as long as you live in the three-dimensional reality, as long as you live in the material world, you also need to have some grounding. And if you don't have it, then nothing is happening, right? Those things, they're up here somewhere, up. They're in different dimensions. But in the dimension where you are, nothing is happening. They just don't trickle down. Nothing materializes. So you may be surrounded by images and desires and things that are all ready for you, all available to you at the higher levels, but they never trickle down into the physicality. And the same applies to healing. Say, in the work that I do, I work in a higher vibrational healing. I work with soul level healing and realigning the energies at the soul level. So this happens at a much higher vibrational frequency. This happens at the level of the soul, at the level of the Akashic records, on the fifth dimensional level. And when I ask for certain things to be cleared, for vows to be released, programs, implants to be cleared, Well, it is done on the higher levels. However, if nothing changes in the physical, if my client doesn't make different choices, doesn't start acting differently, doesn't start living from that new reality, nothing is going to happen. And many people block these changes precisely because they have no grounding, right? So, for example, I clear a program of complaint, of dissatisfaction. For example, this is just a very rough example. Now, if that is cleared at the soul level and we receive a clear confirmation, yes, this energy is cleared at the soul level, but the person is not observing his complaining or her complaining self, is not willing to do the inner work related to watching that complainer, observing how do these situations arise, is not willing to live in gratitude, to offer thanks for waking up, to offer thanks for the sunrise, to offer thanks for a new job, to thank people who have done her or him good, then this clearing, it's available up there at the soul level, but it doesn't trickle down into the physicality. And the same thing with all energy clearing, really. If you don't make different choices, if you're not willing to live out of that new reality, well, how is it going to manifest? Let's say we have cleared a program of disempowerment. So living from that new reality would mean finding ways to empower yourself. So first observing, where am I disempowered, right? Do I think that others have power over me? Do I think that my neighbor is more powerful than I? So, I hold a grudge against him, maybe because he takes out his trash too early or too late. Whereas it's in my power to change that reaction. So, watching all those areas where I give over my power to others, where I think, well, I have no power over my reactions, over my emotions, and gradually beginning to take that power back. If we clear a program of, or let's say maybe we clear the over openness of the energetic body. So someone is so open, so empathetic, they just suck everything in like a vacuum cleaner. Well, grounding that change into reality would mean putting a conscious effort to close the energy body. So to create, for example, to visualize white light around the body for protection, or to set an intention to close off the energy field to outer energies. So there are many examples, but I think you get where I'm going with this. So grounding changes, grounding transformation means making different choices and taking actions. Of course, these actions will depend on what it is we want to ground. Let's say if I want to manifest $1,000, it is very likely I need to put some effort. I need to work. Maybe I need to put an ad. Maybe I need to um, write, to reach out to people, depending on what it is I do, right? Maybe I need to go to a physical office and start clocking in more hours, doing more sales, finding ways of doing more sales. It is very unlikely that money is just going to drop from heavens. What is likely is that there will be new and unexpected ways that I haven't realized were there before. So if we have trauma and abuse in our past, it is very difficult to wrap our head around these things, because we tend to think that power is outside of us, that we are helpless, hopeless, and that needs to help us. Somebody basically needs to push us. The power belongs to someone else, not to us. So a person who has these blocks to trauma, to abuse, to grounding from before trauma and abuse, will it's very difficult to immediately restructure and say, well, okay, so I'm going to be grounded now, so I'm going to take responsibility. So the first step would be to start working on the trauma, on that wounding. And that can take a lot of work. That can take a lot of work. In the beginning, it may be, and it can change as well, right? There are different kinds of healing modalities. There are different kinds of trauma healing modalities. So you may start with something more, I don't know, stronger for the most heart pressing issues, emotional release, trauma release, somatic experiencing, and then move on to higher and higher frequencies, right? So inner child healing. It doesn't mean you have to do inner child healing for 10 years. You do inner child healing, you do something else. And things gradually start clearing and you're able to be more present. So the blocks to grounding we find in the first and second chakras. And the first chakra has to do with survival, the ability, the right to be here. So any threat to survival, including the threat to survival that you experienced inside the womb, will be a block to grounding. So if the mother was not feeling well during pregnancy, or if the pregnancy was not wanted, and even later both parents forgot about it. For example, mother didn't want to be pregnant when she found out, and then several months later she was perfectly fine with it, and when the baby was born, she was the happiest person alive. But the problem is the child inside the womb kind of is one foot in this world, one foot in the other world, very, very sensitive to energy. So we feel those things in the womb. Of course, we don't remember them consciously, but they leave a mark on our soul and a mark on our energy body. So the first impression of this world is, I am not wanted, or my life is in danger. Of course, it creates a block to grounding. Of course, you can't create or manifest because you think, I'm not wanted. That's the fundamental first impression. So there is that block in the root chakra that screams, I don't want to be here. It's dangerous to be here. And the same applies to, of course, the second chakra, the sacral chakra, which holds a lot of our sexual trauma. Not just that, but sexual abuse or intended sexual abuse would be a block in the sacral chakra. And guess what? This chakra is also responsible for manifesting and creating. This is the chakra of money, of good businessmen. Yes, maybe shrewd businessmen, maybe evil businessmen, but they're good precisely because they harness this energy. And often also very sexually controversial, or let's say sexually active, because these things are connected. Now, if the sacral chakra is blocked, often the throat is blocked as well, because these two chakras are related. So not only we can't manifest, but we also can't express ourselves. So these are important things to consider because we can't just wish ourselves into being grounded. First, the trauma needs to be cleared. And very often we need to, start with the most crude methods. Those were the words I was looking for before. So we start with the more crude, the more basic methods, like screaming our pain out into the pillow, using those trauma release techniques. And then go to more finer methods, to energy healing, to soul clearing. Or we can do the healing at the soul level, as I was saying before, and then think of what steps we need to take to bring it into the present. Just in the same way as, when you vision board, when you imagine, okay, I want this to happen, I see myself doing this, then you finish that meditation and you go and you write down 20 ways in which I can make this happen, 20 ways in which I can advertise, and then 20 ways in which I can expand my business, 20 new products I can create, and so on and so forth. So this will get you out of the head and into the physical reality. So you can't just sit and manifest and vision board without taking action. It makes no sense. So these are gradual steps to move into the present, move into the reality. You cannot just meditate and imagine and visualize and do the energy work. You also need to take new action. New action is new choices, is imperative for things to actually ground into reality. Also, as I said, traveling. So what do we do, for example, when we travel or when we feel terribly ungrounded? And I know now the energy is shifting so rapidly for everyone, right? That it's very easy to feel ungrounded. It's very easy to lose that ground. So what do we do? So unless heavy issues are involved and you need to do some serious trauma clearing and inner child healing and so on, and start, unraveling those things, which may take a long time. Some simple ways to ground would be to connect to those two chakras, to the root chakra and the sacral one. This will also be your indicator of how well you can connect with them and how severe your blocks to grounding are. It can often be that even connecting to those, let's say to the root chakra, can bring up those fears, the existential fears of survival, of not having a right to be here, of unwantedness, of rejection. So you will often be able to tell actually what the issue is, because if you have consistently avoided going in there, being present there for years, maybe decades, it is very unlikely you're going to change that with a 10-minute meditation, but it is very likely you will know a little more where your issue is. And think that our energy bodies, our energy, it defaults. So if to the standard. So if you've been thinking, I am not wanted for 20 years, there is no technique, there is no healer, there is no magician that can suddenly help you feel wanted in 10 minutes, in an hour. No, it doesn't exist. You may feel a temporary relief, and then what is going to happen? You're going to default back to the previous state. So consistent practice, consistently going back consistently repeating the same practice over and over again, the same affirmation or the same mantra, and attacking the problem from different angles, again, consistently, maybe doing the same clearing over and over again, going over the same energetic imprint with the intention to clear it over and over again. And over the course of weeks, sometimes months, you will start noticing that it clears, that it lightens up, that it releases. So, unfortunately, there are no cookie cutter solutions for easy grounding, but I just wanted to say how important that is to feel grounded. If you're not grounded, you will not manifest, you will not create, you will not be present, you will not be concentrated, and you will not be able to heal as well either. The health issues that accompany lack of grounding would have to do with, well, with anything really, but often also the most primary structural issues, so bones, right, the blood. So to try and ground, to try and be more present, if this is caused by, let's say, if you traveled a lot over the past few weeks, which is very unlikely at the moment, but in the imaginary scenario, or if things have been changing so rapidly that you feel you really don't feel the ground beneath your feet, it helps to just sit and take your shoes off and just feel if possible, feel the bare earth beneath your feet, or just put your feet on the floor. That bringing that awareness into the feet, tuning into the physical surroundings, and bring awareness into the body. Touch your body, touch the skin, feel what it feels like to feel your own skin. What does it feel like today? How does the skin respond to the touch? How am I feeling? Feel that what you're sitting on, how it is supporting your body, the chair that supports your back, the sofa. Feel the blood running through your veins. Feel the heartbeat. Tune into the body. See yourself growing roots from the soles of your feet into the center of the earth. Connecting to the living, breathing center of the earth. Start drawing energy from the center of the earth into the soles of your feet, and feel that energy going up in your body, filling you up at the first chakra, at the root, at the base of the spine. Just filling you up. Connect to that chakra. Feel it spinning. Start spinning it in your mind's eye. Just start spinning it, activating it with your intention. Notice if you feel any unpleasant sensations, if it feels painful or somehow unpleasant in the body, start spinning. Maybe you need to spend 10, 15 minutes connecting to that chakra, listening to the wisdom it has to tell you. What sensations arise? What do they remind you of? What story do they tell? Do you feel you belong here? Feel the heaviness of that first chakra. It's like a heavy stone, almost like a molten lead, that heavy, thick, leaden feeling. It's very gravitational. It's as if it keeps you magnetized to the earth. But it also magnetizes other people. It magnetizes money, attraction, success. It magnetizes your reality. If you don't connect with it, you can't receive what you want. You can't wish what you want into existence. If you don't enjoy being here, it's impossible to create. It's impossible to enjoy a healthy relationship. If you can't enjoy life, life is going to reciprocate. Life is not going to give you anything good. So the second chakra, the chakra just a little way up, start activating that. Start feeling into it. Feel it spinning just behind the pubic bone, that little core of energy, the little center of energy. Smoky orange in color. Do you know what it feels like to enjoy life? When was the last time you enjoyed life? Ask for the pleasure center to be activated. Your second chakra holds a pleasure center as well. It's an ability to enjoy, to feel basic pleasures from food, from music, from touch. Often when we go up spiritually, when we raise our vibration, our pleasure center changes or doesn't keep up. The experience is that the things that we used to enjoy before, they don't bring us any joy anymore. So we're trying to find new things, and some of them not very healthy, because what we used to enjoy before somehow doesn't resonate, doesn't bring us any pleasure. So ask for that pleasure center to be restored and activated. Just ask the universe. Feel the touch. Feel the joy of a breeze or sun. Feel the beauty of sunset, of sunrise. See them as you connect to that second chakra. As you connect to your pleasure center, pay attention. Can you connect to it? Is it easy? Or is it as if through a mist? Is it muffled? Is it easily activated? If you can barely sense it, it is most likely you're blocking that, especially blocking pleasure in your life. So these are clues that tell you what you've blocked, what have been switched off. Sometimes it is possible that, you were able, as I said, well, these things are related. As I said, you're going up vibrationally, or you're ready to go up vibrationally, and suddenly things that you enjoyed before no longer bring you pleasure. Or maybe some of those things were not so good. Maybe you don't enjoy drinking every night anymore, which is wonderful, I think. Um, but then certain things that went along with that, such as, a good conversation or meeting people, you're not enjoying that anymore either. And sometimes traumas or wounds are coming up for clearing. You weren't ready to face them before. You were living more superficially. Now, as you're ready to go deeper, these traumas are coming up to the surface. But your instinctive response is to block them, right? So you feel blocked, frozen, because you need to address those traumas. If you feel frozen and at the same time on the cusp of spiritual elevation, or frozen and you really don't know where you're going and everything is just falling apart, it is most likely this, that there are old traumas that need to be addressed once and for all. And they will be screaming at you through life circumstances, through things that are not working out, through situations repeating themselves, reminding you of how you felt, of the deepest beliefs that you hold that are no longer working, no longer helping, no longer functioning. So all of these energies are stored in our two lower chakras. Well, and some also in the Manipura chakra, right, in the solar plexus. So that's why these are the heaviest, the most difficult chakras to work with, because they are responsible for so much of our physical reality, of the reality we create and manifest. And whenever the energy is off, also the manifesting is obviously off. So our reality shows us a lot about what we believe about ourselves and our world. So, to finish this off, I would say keep clearing, keep working, connect with those two lower chakras, maybe for 5 or 10 minutes each. As you activate them, you may feel um, thoughts, feelings, energies coming through that will give you a hint as to what blocks your grounding. If this is due to just changes, shifting, moving, changing a lot of things rapidly, then simply tuning in, connecting to the earth, connecting to the root chakra at the base of the spine for 10 minutes, it works wonders. It just brings you in, makes you more present. And of course, anything to do with the body, such as exercise, is very grounding. Walking, yoga, breathing, meditation, being present, that grounds you in reality, balances out the thinking mind, So, with that, I wish you all the best and many blessings, and we will speak again next week. Thank you.